So welcome to this video. I don't know, I'll try and create a series of videos about things that I feel nostalgic about or that I used to watch when I was younger, and it'll just be me trying to look back on them and talk about the main thing that I remember from them. Well, let's get started. Pretty Little Liars. Remember that show? You know, the show that everybody was raving about, quickly dissipated into nothingness after it ended, and that was because of just how disappointing it was. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a show that just got forgotten this quickly. Like, it hasn't, like, people haven't even, revisited it that much. Like, at least with Teen Wolf, like, I don't think it has dissipated that much yet. Yeah, that's it. But I'm gonna get into my backstory with Pretty Little Liars. So my backstory, oh my god, I'm characterizing myself like I'm in some movie or something. I watched Pretty Little Liars I think 8 years ago. Like, no, that's too far back. I would have been 10. That's scary. I think I started watching it, I would say 6 years ago. I think 6 is the right time. And god, I feel really old now, but I was kind of way too young to be watching this show. Like, I'm not sure what compelled me to think that this was like aimed at me, but I watched it. I binge watched this show, and I remember that I watched it quite regularly when it was still in like season 4-ish, season 3, 4, I don't even remember. I think it was season 4. Actually, my time might be very screwed up because I don't remember how many years ago that was. I'm probably around the same time. But yeah, I used to be really into this show, and I thought it was super cool, and it was like nothing I've seen before, obviously, because I was a child, but it was just super intriguing, and I loved the storyline. I loved the mystery. I loved like the fact that it was like a teen drama as well. And if you guys don't know Pretty Little Liars, first of all, why are you in this video? No, I'm kidding. But it is a show with 5 1 2 3 4, are they 4 main girls? 4, 1, Hannah, Aria, Spencer, Emily. Yeah, with 4 main girls who are anonymously texted by this stalker called A after their best friend Alison disappears into thin air. The 2 main mysteries of the show are Alison disappearance / death, and who is A. So what is my nostalgia factor? Well, I don't know. I just think it's because sometimes they had those twists. And I remember very, very, like, intensely watching that episode where Cece is revealed to be A, and just being so upset. Like, not upset like literally crying, but like upset as in like disappointed. I was like, I literally watched this show like on a weekly basis. Like, what? Like, literally, what clown behavior? Like, for it to be revealed that this like random side character is A, like, we love to see it. But yeah, it is kind of a nostalgia factor for me, because it's like, I don't know, it just reminds me of when I started to get into teen dramas and to like be that target age demographic, even though I would argue that I was younger than the target age demographic. I look back and I'm like, oh my god, good old days, 2013, when things were still pretty bad, but better than now. It reminded me of growing up, because that was around the same time I was becoming a woman. Which sounds so bad saying it out loud, actually. Maybe I should have just kept it in my mind. Maybe my synapses should have just stopped in their tracks, I also feel nostalgia to watching, like, I just remember watching the show on certain days where events happened. Events, that is so like vague. Like where I had a certain day where I, for example, skipped school or something and I just watched it the entire day, and it's just memories like that that make it just, you know, a little bit sentimental for me. But then at the same time I'm kind of angry at it, and I don't want to watch any episode past season 4 again. Unless I'm forced to, of course. Now that we've looked at the nostalgia factor, I think I'd give it maybe a 5 out of 10 on my nostalgia rating, because it does elicit some nostalgia, but it's not like to the point of tears, you know what I mean? I think that this show is objectively bad. Like, to be honest with you, I think it's not that good, but it is subjectively good. Like, like, for me at the time at least, I was like, whoa, like, she's so smart. Marlene King, like, look at all the clues they're hiding, like, this is so cool, it's all gonna lead up to some big cool finale where we find out who A is. Like, what a disappointment. But yeah, I'm gonna talk about the main things that I remember from this show, whether they are good or bad. I'm gonna start with the good. First things first, there is like an embracing of femininity here. Like, if you look at a lot of media right now, it's like it's constantly like demonizing femininity. And not even now, like, this has been like going for a while. Like, just the whole thing of like making masculinity, like, whatever that means, but making it like more desirable is so sexist to me. Like, it's just so screwed up. And I just like the fact that, you know, these female characters were just, you know, they liked fashion, they liked shopping, you know, these things. Technically they're more feminine. Again, like, what does that even mean? But you know what I mean. Like, it's just, it was nice to see. It was good representation, not in the minority sense, but like female representation. There's a lot of female characters in this show, I gotta say. I thought that was cool. I liked that they had real issues sometimes, other than like the whole A thing in like season 1, when they kind of like touched on, was it season 1 or season 2? Oh my god. When they kind of touched on like eating disorders, I thought that was pretty cool that they did that, even though I don't technically remember if it was tasteful, like if it was in good taste or not, like if it was tasteful or not. Is that the word, tasteful? With Spencer's character, for example, they dealt with the idea of perfectionism. I think it's something that's like rarely talked about in teen dramas, even though that's like one of the main things that like teenagers suffer through, I think, when it comes to school. I just think that's super cool. Another thing that I like is the intrigue. Like, I love atmospheres. Like, I love things where it's like, ooh, this town, everybody has secrets in this town. They do that pretty well with this show. Like, with this, like, I love suburban nightmares. Like, I love things that take place in suburban cities or towns that are like scary. Like, I just think it's so cool. And I think they did that with Rosewood. Is that the place is that called Rosewood? Yeah, it is. I also love the intrigue. Loved the intrigue, past tense, with A. And I was like always looking up those, but like I was always looking at theories, and I just thought it was the coolest thing that fans teamed up and like also were discussing theories. I just love it when like fans become detectives and it's not just us laying around like taking it in, if that makes sense. I just love the whole secrecy aspect of it. Like, ooh, what is this character hiding? Like, I just thought it was really neat. I love intrigue, I love mystery, and I love that the fact that it was like a hybrid genre with teen drama. I think that's super cool. I love Alison. I loved Alison's character up until she was not dead. Because I just thought she was a good villain, and I really thought it was interesting the way she affected the characters who, you know, after she disappeared. I thought that was so cool and so profound, and it just says a lot about like toxic relationships, and they could have done so much with Alison's character, but oh my god. So about the other thing. So, well, I think we have to admit that PrettyLittleLiars is a little bit cliche. There's a whole hot for teacher thing that happens not once, not twice, but with different characters. That's something that I think is like popular in the writers' room for some reason. Also, Riverdale did it. Like, I don't know what's the allure of romanticizing illegal relationships and like relationships with pedophilic undertones. Like that's not okay. Like, just to think that I shipped Ezra and Aria together, honestly, what was my brain doing back then, you know? Probably not studying. The whole high school clique thing, we've seen it a million times before. What I thought was interesting, though, again, is the whole Alison tormenting the other people in the clique, I guess, but went nowhere as well. Again, so many like cliche storylines in this show. Something I really disliked is the Alison Redemption arc. Honey, they could have just left her in the grave. Like, why did they feel the need to like bring back this villain who's like unredeemable at this point? Like, they just wrote her in such a way that made it seem like she's just this like horrible character. Like, she's just not a horrible character in the way she's written, but just a horrible person. Like, she has tormented literally everyone. I think she's like killed, like almost like implied to have killed people, and like she's just a bully and she just bullies everybody. Like, she caused like literally like trauma for these girls. There is nothing to be redeemed about her, and just bringing her back and being like, oh well, you know, she also is suffering right now. Like, I don't know, like, it's just horrible. And there's like so much potential with this character, and then they just brought her back and tried to pull the whole redemption arc thing. Like, honey, no. Like, that you literally like removed the whole one of the main central interesting dynamics of the show, you know? Like, very strange stuff, very strange. And I never liked her after that. She was just boring as hell. Another thing is there's just so much filler in the show. Like, I'm telling you right now, like 90% of the show is just stuff happening, and I literally mean it. By what I mean is just literally stuff happening. There is nothing going on that contributes to anything. Like, honestly, it's just goes on and on and on and on, and I just remember being there and being like, what does this have to do with anything? There's so many like plot holes. If you go online, literally, if you write plot holes, you'll find like big magazines writing about Pretty Little Liars plot holes because they're so bad. Here are just some examples, and I'll link some sources below, because I'm gonna be honest with you here. I am not about to revisit this show for like 6 seasons. So yeah, here are some examples. Cece's whole storyline and arc. How were Bethany Young and Alison De Laurentiis dressed the same on the same day? Also, Bethany Young's whole storyline and arc. What's the point of Jenna's character? What happened on the night of Alison's disappearance? Why did Mona say, Miss Aria, you're a killer, not Ezra's wife, to Aria? What was Noel Khan's motive for being such a bad person? Also, Sarah Harvey's entire plot and arc. Also, why put like a million clues that make Aria look suspicious for it not to like lead anywhere? Like, I just remember being such a huge fan of like the Aria is A theory, because it just made so much sense. The writers led us on so well, and it's actually clever. There's some stuff that's like hidden in plain sight, which is like the coolest thing about a mystery, isn't it? I remember watching this like really spooky video on YouTube with all like the Aria is A clues, and I was like scared. Like about this fictional character being A. I will link it if I find it. Just imagine how cool it would be if it was discovered that Aria, like one of the main girls, is A. literally show-stopping. It would make this show so memorable. So here are some reasons why I thought that was the plan, and also why it would have made the most sense. Also, biggest courtesy to this whole A Tumblr page. Oh my god, remember Tumblr, guys? Called Aria is A. I will link it down below. It is so like helpful because honestly it just shows how much people were invested into this theory, and it makes the most sense. Even freaking Lucy Hale like literally thought she was gonna be A. Like oh my god. So here are some like of the clues. The whole Miss Aria, you're not a killer. You're what? Miss Aria, you're a killer, not Ezra's wife. Like the whole Maya and you thing. What, Mona? Like what are you saying here? And when like Mona calls Aria Big A in the school hallway, the fact that Aria has like major anger issues, like when she smashes Ezra's apartment and various other situations where she like blackmails people. Why am I laughing? The Radley employee like in the mental institution, I forgot what he was called. He recognizes Aria, literally recognizes her, and she's like, what? Like, I don't know who you are. So this is also a plot hole as well. She has a patient file in Radley. She dresses up as Black Swan in Halloween when Marlene King, the writer of the show, said that A would dress like Black Swan in this very same episode. There's just a lot of like mirror imagery with her, shattered mirror imagery. The fact that like she went to Iceland right when her friend disappeared. Like to get over it, I guess. Also the fact that she cheats on every single boyfriend she has. She has the same magazine as A in one of the episodes. You know, she looks at the same magazine. I don't know how to explain this in audio. She's like always MIA when stuff is going down. She's constantly on her phone. She has like a million phones. And I get it, like, teenagers are on their phone quite a bit. I get it, Marlene, but, like, what? She spells out her A like A does, you know, with the whole, like, thingy. Aria is always, or in most times, she's attacked when she's alone. Like, come on, you can't tell me that all of this is by accident. Like, there's literally like tweets by this lady that like please, I would just like to go back 6 years and go into like that writer's room and see if they were actually planning to make her A, because I would not be surprised if they were. And then they scrapped it when they were like, oh well, there are some people who are theorizing it, so let's come up with something more plot twisty. Like, what? That's so stupid. Okay. But then here's the thing. She's not A, so why? Why was all of this, like, put in front of us? Because these are things that are they're supposed to be intentional. Like, it's not like Riverdale where, you know, at this point, you know, the writers aren't, like, asking the audience or expecting them to, like, pay attention to, like, the mystery and, like, piece the puzzle together, because everybody just, you know, I think at this point, nobody really watches Riverdale to piece together the mystery. But then with this show, they really expected people to like be sitting down and like trying to see all those like little clues and piecing them together, and then they just go nowhere, you know, like, okay, well, that's kind of not great. It would have been so cool, but then it's so disappointing that A just ends up being this like random average Joe. I mean, it's not an average Joe, it's like this twin sister or whatever. I don't know, I didn't watch season 7 because I stopped after season 6. I'm sorry, I'm a failure. That is not impactful at all. It's just this random person we don't have a connection with, like, boo. And because of the fact that Aria isn't A, that makes her like a million times more boring. Because like, if you think about it, like, what is interesting about Aria? She cheats on her boyfriends, apparently. She has anger issues. What else? Is there anything memorable about this character? I don't think so. And then just this is the same for like all the other characters, I think. It's pretty bad. I mean, there's not really much to them. And like it's so disappointing because there's like so much potential. And I think one of the worst things about these sort of media is that as the potential, but there's a couple of good things about the show. Obviously they were ruined, and even the cast who are great, who have great charisma, can't even carry the show. And you can just tell on the internet that how disappointed people are, because when you search it up, like so many people, just especially fans, talk about how Marlene King should just own up and talk about how she messed up. It's sad, kinda, when a show fizzles out like that after, like, what was it, 7 years? Kinda crazy. I think if it would have ended after, like, season 4, I think that would have benefited the show quite a bit. I will be forever grateful for the show because I discovered kind of, like, my taste. Because turns out, surprise, I love overanalyzing things. I have so much nostalgia when it comes to this show because it really influenced me, because I realized I really love like this type of mystery that's like hybrid mystery. I realized that I love suburban dramas. Like literally Pretty Little Liars sparked in me the love for suburban dramas. Like that's so strange. I realized that I love it when there's like underlying messages in movies and media. I just think that's so cool, and I love mystery. I love a good theory. I love a good, I love a good pretty cast. I love that I discovered so many things about myself throughout the show, like my taste in men. I love, I don't know, I just love the vibes. I love the tiny block phones. I love it. It's from a bygone era, and I feel like we'll never go back to that type of TV again. I mean, technically they're gonna reboot it or whatever, but like it's not looking good because it'll be made by the same guy who like made Riverdale, which is we all know how we feel about that. I think we peaked in like 2013-ish when it comes to teen dramas. With the Vampire Diaries and Teen Wolf, and I don't know, I don't remember. I really enjoyed my time watching this show up until season 5. Anything after is just not okay, but even though it was objectively bad and had a lot of flaws, I kind of enjoyed creating theories and watching theories and watching that scary video on YouTube. Also, I'm adding this, but when it comes to like, memorabilia related to that, to Pretty Little Liars, well, I dressed up as A once in this Halloween event in my high school. If I find a picture of it, I might put it, but I can't give you any promises. Another instant is when I ordered like this, I think it was like a Aria Ezra shirt. Super embarrassing. Also, I think I wrote like a novel on Wattpad. This is very dark. That was inspired by Pretty Little Liars. It is not there anymore. Don't try and look for it because I removed it. But it was definitely inspired by it. Also, I distinctly remember with like my Halloween costume, because I was just wearing the hoodie and it just had an A on it, which is like really stupid now that I think of it, because I think somebody walked up to me and was like, "Are you supposed to be the Scarlet Letter?" And I was like, I had no idea what that was at the time. And I just think it's so funny, and I was like, no, it's from Pretty Little Liars. Oh, good days. Thank you so much for listening. This was just crazy, unorganized, wild from start to finish. I'll probably do more of these. But yes, this was fun. I loved revisiting PLL, even if it was just through the internet, because it's just these things that like they're hidden in my brain, and I just think it's so important to process it and get it out again, because it makes me kind of happy to think about the things that I used to watch when I was younger, because they are quite formative in my personality and my childhood and my life in general, which sounds quite dramatic, but it really is. There's just no going back to that, those formative years. And I think that what you watch in those formative years when you're growing up kind of stays with you forever, even though it's not like that big of a deal genuinely, or even though it might not be like an amazing show or an amazing movie, objectively bad, you might have even hated it, but it will stick with you because of its nostalgia, because of your experiences that surround it. And I definitely think Pretty Little Liars is one of those shows, but you're gonna have to stick around because I'm gonna talk about other things possibly. But yeah, for now, this is it. Thank you for listening.